May I please request His Excellency Dr. Geoffrey Shaw, Australian High Commissioner to Pakistan, to deliver his special address. Welcome, sir.
Look, it's wonderful for me to be here today and supporting this terrific initiative. So I just want to start by thanking you for that invitation to be able to join with you today, and for your work in trying to achieve fair representation for women in Pakistan's justice sector. Let me first acknowledge the distinguished guests, the diplomatic colleagues, honourable members of Parliament, members of the judiciary, and in particular I want to acknowledge and thank the work of the Federal Minister for Law and Justice, the Honourable Dr. Naseem, and the Parliamentary Secretary for Law and Justice, Malika Bukhari. This, of course, is Pakistan's first Women in Law Awards and Symposium on Diversity and Inclusion, organised, of course, by the Ministry of Law and Justice, Group Development, and the Women in Law Initiative. The Women in Law Awards and this symposium are proudly supported by Australia. Through this program, Australia supported Women in Law web portal and the app Lawyer Her, a digital platform bringing together information to help support and promote women in the legal profession. We also last year supported a baseline study on the state of women's representation in law in Pakistan to help the sector make data-driven decisions that increase women's participation in the legal profession. Australia's Foreign Minister and Minister for Women, Marise Payne, has placed gender equality at the very core of Australia's foreign policy. For a long time, Australia has been recognised internationally for its support for women's rights through its aid program, peacekeeping contributions, regional engagement, and interventions on such bodies as the Human Rights Council. More recently, Australia contributed to the representation of women in the legal profession internationally by nominating, advocating, and securing the position of only the fifth woman to be elected to the International Court of Justice, an Australian barrister and solicitor, Professor Hilary Charlesworth. And I want to thank Pakistan, of course, for the support of that nomination. We're also proud to have a woman as our Chief Justice of the High Court of Australia, the Honourable Susan Keffel. We look forward to when Pakistan will have its first Supreme Court Justice who's a woman. Every country shares the challenges of equal representation for women, and I want to acknowledge Pakistan's endeavours for gender equality, particularly its recent achievements. For example, just last week we saw a number of pieces of legislation adopted, which I think is certainly a great sign. And this comes on top of, for example, last year's the Women in Property Rights Amendment Bill, but also here in Islamabad, the newly established Gender Protection Unit with the Islamabad Capital Territory Police, a dedicated division that will exclusively handle related issues to gender-based violence, domestic violence, child abuse, and harassment. Colleagues, challenges remain. In the legal profession in Pakistan, as in many countries around the world, including Australia, the profession remains male-dominated. Whether as lawyers, judges, academics, or members of bar councils, as we just heard, better gender representation improves justice outcomes for everybody. Better gender representation in law will drive inclusive policies and attitudes in society more widely, creating a more fair and just community. While acknowledging we ourselves still have a way to go for equal representation, I'd like to share some of our own experiences. Australia takes a multi-pronged approach to closing the gender gap, focusing on increasing girls' and women's access to basic public services, promoting women's economic empowerment, and enhancing women's voices in policy frameworks and institutions. We know that when women can enter and remain in the labour force, economies grow. Women's economic empowerment and unconstrained participation in the formal economy is a significant driver of sustainable economic growth and prosperity. Therefore, promotion and protection of gender equality is a key pillar of Australia's international human rights agenda. We do this by supporting government initiatives and working with civil society. Here in Pakistan, promoting equality and the rights of women and girls, of course, is central to our work, as it is in every country. We're very pleased to support the Male Champions of Change Pakistan chapter, bringing together male CEOs who commit to cultivating female leaders in their companies and across society. Gender equality also continues to be a focus of our development assistance activities. For example, our work with UNFPA is helping nearly 300,000 women access essential maternal health care in KP and Balochistan. Our work with Oxfam is helping address gender-related issues in the Sindh province by challenging the stereotypes that young women and girls only belong at the home. We recognise the important role that women play as decision makers, including through our support of the Accountability Lab, working with women leaders to counter COVID-19 misinformation in their communities. And of course, we assure that 50% of all Australia Awards Master Scholarships are awarded to women. We're providing workshops for journalists in Pakistan, for example, on the role of media in reporting responsibly and accurately on gender-based violence cases. Tonight, of course, is the eve of the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. While activism is all year round, these 16 days give us an opportunity to reflect deeply on what we can do to prevent and ultimately stamp out gender-based violence once and for all. After all, no nation has a monopoly on best approach to solving challenges of gender inequality. We can learn a lot from each other. So let me wrap up again by congratulating today all of the award recipients and the implementing partners, Group Development Pakistan and the Women in Law Initiative Pakistan, on this fantastic achievement. Of course, again, let me acknowledge too the strong and ongoing support of the initiative through an Honourable Minister and Parliamentary Secretary. Thank you very much.